Chapter 3. Bill approached the entrance of the temple, his gaze tracing the vibrant colors woven into the structure. Though it nestled within the forest, the aura it radiated stood apart from the wilderness. A heavy veil marked the threshold. Fabric rich with emerald greens and golden patterns shimmered under dappled sunlight. Intricate designs spread across its surface, telling silent stories only the Cohens understood. The veil swayed with the forest's breeze, moving as though it breathed. Bill reached out and brushed his fingers against the rough texture of the fabric, hesitating for just a moment before lifting it and stepping inside. Warmth wrapped around him. The scent of incense drifted through dim light, curling through the air. His eyes adjusted, taking in the space, simple yet carefully adorned. Fabrics in deep reds and golds draped along the walls, casting a regal hue. Smooth stones, polished by reverent hands over the years, lined the altar at the center. A shallow bronze bowl held burning herbs, smoke drifting upward in thin, steady streams. Albanor stood near the altar, his silhouette shaped by the light of the flames. His mossy green hood hung low, and golden thread shimmered along the edges, forming delicate patterns that flickered with life. The hood shadowed his face, though the sharp line of his jaw and calm set of his mouth gave him away. Though shorter than Bill, Albanor's presence filled the room. He moved with intention, almost ritualistic, as he reached forward to tend the smoldering herbs. When he turned, the golden thread caught the light once more, and his pale eyes met Bill's without hesitation. "Bill," Albanor greeted, his voice a quiet blend of warmth and authority. "A welcome visit. What brings you here?" Bill stepped forward, the faint sound of his boots brushing the stone floor. Albanor's steady gaze, intense without force, unsettled him, grounding yet prying, as if it searched places Bill had yet to explore. Bill's gaze dropped, then lifted again. "I need to speak to you." Albanor tilted his head, the hood shifting to reveal more of his face. His eyes, nearly glowing in the light, watched Bill with quiet care. He leaned on his staff, its gnarled surface worn smooth in places from age and use, before asking, "Does something trouble you?" Bill exhaled and rubbed the back of his neck. "Yes," he said. "There's a sense that I'm out of place, though I can't explain why." Albanor studied him, silent for a breath. Then he gestured toward the bench by the altar. Bill moved to it, settling with forearms resting on his knees, hands clasped. "You've carried more than most at your age," Albanor said, his voice steady. "Sometimes, when the burdens we bear grow heavy, it can make the world around us feel unsettled." Bill frowned and tightened his fingers. "So you think it's in my head?" "Not entirely," Albanor replied, lowering himself to the floor across from Bill. He sat cross-legged, his staff resting across his knees. "What you feel holds weight, but it may root deeper than you expect." Bill met his gaze. "What do you mean?" A faint smile touched Albanor's lips, though his eyes stayed distant. "Every person walks a path. Some are easy and others more complex. But a chosen few forge the paths many will follow." His words lingered between them. Bill leaned back, brow furrowed. Something in the old Cohen's tone hinted at truths left unspoken. "You think I play a bigger part in all this?" "I believe," Albanor said slowly, "your steps will lead more than you realize. But what you choose now holds the greatest power." Bill lowered his gaze, the weight finally settling on him. After a moment, Albanor spoke, pulling Bill out of his thoughts. "For now, let's focus on today's path. The offering must be prepared." Bill looked up. "What offering?" "A deer for the altar," Albanor said, his tone shifting with purpose. "You'll provide it," Bill nodded, a faint sense of relief creeping in as his focus returned to something familiar. "I'll handle it. I just need to retrieve some supplies from home." "Good," Albanor said, rising to his feet with the aid of his staff. "Go then, and may this task bring you clarity." Bill stood and adjusted the falx at his hip. He gave Albanor a small nod before turning toward the veil. The heavy cloth moved in the breeze as he stepped through. Sunlight greeted him again, warm against his face. The questions inside him, however settled, remained. Chapter 4. Bill's boots crunched softly against the forest floor as he entered Eremia again. The air carried the rich scent of damp earth and pine. After returning home, he grabbed his hunting bow, its leather grip firm in his hands, along with extra supplies, another quiver of arrows and a leather pouch of dried herbs. The hunt never promised success, but today he needed it. The forest lay quiet, only birds and rustling leaves stirring beneath the trees. Bill welcomed the stillness. The forest moved to its own rhythm, and he had learned how to follow it. He moved quickly, weaving through undergrowth, eyes scanning the ground for signs. Earlier, he'd caught a glimpse of a deer, its sleek form flashing through the trees, a blur of brown swallowed by shadow. Close enough to know it still lingered nearby. The deer would serve well for the offering, a respectful gift to honor the spirits who watched over them. Each step Bill took held purpose. Bow ready at his side, he watched for tracks, broken branches, patches of disturbed grass. From time to time, he crouched low, fingers brushing fresh prints in the dirt. Closer, he could feel it. Yet, despite the methodical movement of his hunt, a strange hush settled across the forest. Not peace, but tension. Trees around him felt expectant. The same unease from earlier crept into his thoughts again. He pushed it aside. Focus mattered more. Minutes passed, the silence thickened. Then, it stirred, a faint rustle. Leaves shifted under something more deliberate than wind. Bill's gaze snapped upward. He froze, muscles tensed, senses sharp. The forest held its breath. Footsteps followed, not the erratic gait of an animal, but a measured pace. Someone moved through the woods. He turned fast, scanning the trees. Nothing moved. The footsteps ceased, leaving only the faint chirping of birds and the hum of distant bugs. Bill took a slow breath, hand tightening on the bowstring. He made no move. The forest deceived at times, he knew that. Sounds slipped through trees, echoed in false directions. Still, his instincts bristled. The hunt pulled him forward again. He pressed on, steps more cautious now. Every snap of twig, every flash of movement caught his attention. He followed a narrow trail, the rain-softened soil and damp leaves thick beneath his boots. His body moved without thought, instinctually, but the sensation of unseen eyes never left him. After what felt like hours, he found it. Through the trees, a small gap revealed the deer. It grazed, quiet and unaware, its coat blending with the shadowy underbrush. A sleek doe. Bill lowered his breath, crouched and raised his bow. Before he notched the arrow, a faint sound returned. Rustling leaves again. A step. Then another. Bill's head snapped to the side. Two figures stood at the edge of the clearing, a man and a woman. He froze, hands still on the bowstring. The deer vanished into the shadows, slipping from his focus. He studied the strangers. The man looked worn down, eyes scanning the woods with cautious energy. The woman, more guarded, rested a hand near her hip, as though prepared to draw something, though no weapon showed. They adjusted their packs, turning, their eyes locked with his. The man stepped forward. "Hello there, woodsman. I hope we didn't startle you. Are you lost?" Bill kept his voice steady, fingers never leaving the bow. Strangers in the forest unsettled him. People didn't just wander here. The man nodded, though wariness still edged his face. "Yes. We've been traveling for hours. We must have strayed off the path." His tone carried calm, but uncertainty leaked through his words. "Could you help us?" Bill said nothing at first. He studied them, eyes moving between their faces. The forest quieted again, unnaturally so. He couldn't shake the sense that this meeting meant more than it seemed. His hand remained steady on the bough, though the deer melted into the underbrush. Out of sight and out of mind. "Where are you headed?" he asked, taking a small step back. Muscles coiled, ready for anything. The man exchanged a glance with the woman. "We were looking for shelter but lost our way in the forest." He trailed off, unsure how much to share. The woman's eyes narrowed, but the man spoke again before she could. "We don't mean to intrude, but if you could help us find our way, we'd really appreciate it." Bill listened. No threat revealed itself, no immediate danger. Still, caution held him firm. The forest chewed up the weak and the reckless. He had learned to trust his instincts, especially now. After a pause, he nodded once. "I'll show you the way back. But stick close to me. The forest is not kind to those who don't know it." Relief crossed the man's face. The woman stayed silent, her narrowed gaze fixed ahead. Bill turned and began walking, the two strangers following. His boots rustled the underbrush as they moved toward the forest's edge. Each step held purpose. His hand stayed near the bough. They traveled in silence until Bill broke it. "So, what are your names?" The man answered first. "Richard. And this is Helen." He gestured beside him. Helen offered only a nod, eyes scanning the woods, never resting. "Helen," Bill nodded. "You can call me Bill. It's good to meet you both. But if you don't mind me asking, what brought you here? Not many end up this deep in the forest." Richard hesitated. Helen stayed quiet, her jaw set. After a shared glance, Richard spoke again. "We've been traveling for some time, looking for work. Somewhere to start fresh, you know?" Helen gave a small sound of agreement, not quite a word. Her posture relaxed slightly, but her eyes stayed sharp, always watching. "Looking for work?" Bill's tone remained casual. Inside, his thoughts churned. "That's quite a journey. You didn't come from the east, did you?" Richard shifted. "We've passed through a few places, spent some time in the outer villages, but things haven't quite worked out. Crowded towns, desperate people, so we kept moving." He offered a short chuckle. "We thought the forest might offer something better." Bill nodded. Life beyond the forest rarely welcomed the rootless. The Cohens, living in the lawless lands, carried even more mystery. Best not to mention them. Outsiders feared what lay in the shadow of Eremia, and fear twisted into hatred far too easily. "No easy life here either," Bill said, keeping his voice light. "The forest doesn't give up its secrets, but if you made it this far, you're tougher than most." Richard smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Tough enough, I suppose." Helen stayed quiet. Each step she took felt measured, deliberate. Something about her made Bill uneasy. She held herself like someone used to watching and waiting. "Where do you plan to settle?" Bill asked, hiding the suspicion behind a steady voice. Too calm, too composed. Lost travelers didn't carry themselves like this. "Anywhere, really," Richard said. "Just somewhere safe." Bill kept his expression unreadable. Trees began to thin, sunlight pressing through the canopy ahead. Relief stirred. This encounter neared its end. But unease gnawed still. "I'll take you to the edge," he said as the trees opened into a break. "The rest is up to you." Richard exhaled, grateful. "Thank you. Truly." Helen's gaze lingered longer than necessary. Something behind her eyes shifted. Cold, calculating, but she said nothing. Then her voice cut through the stillness. "It's getting late," she said, glancing around. "I know it's a lot to ask, but is there a chance we could find shelter with you for the night? We're willing to pay, of course. There's far less safety on the road after dark." Bill paused, steps halting. He hadn't expected that, especially from her. "I don't know," Bill began. Richard stepped in quickly. "We don't mean to impose. We've traveled all day, and we could really use a place to rest." You have a good heart, I can tell." Bill glanced at the setting sun. Shadows stretched long across the forest. His thoughts raced. A simple request, on the surface, but more churned beneath. As well, few knew about the Cohen settlements. And Bill intended to keep it that way. For nearly 2 decades, whispers had followed Albanor and his people, accusations of betrayal, exile, and horror. People feared what they didn't understand. Bill had grown up under that burden. He carried it still. "Very well," he said at last, voice quiet but firm. "You're welcome to stay just for tonight. But be mindful, this is a secluded area. The paths through the forest don't always lead where you expect." Richard and Helen exchanged another glance. Silence stretched between them before Richard nodded again. "Thank you," he said. "We truly appreciate it. We weren't sure what we were going to do as nightfall approached." Bill returned the nod. Tension lingered between them, unspoken but thick. Kindness came easy. Trust did not.